July. So let's go.
Did the COVID-19 affect your touring?
Yeah, obviously, COVID impacted me even more so in that I had it. I got it early in March, and I'm one of those higher risk people. I almost died from pneumonia in the early 90s. I was 8 days in critical care on a
Oh,
respirator, taking heavy painkillers. It's a blurry time in my life, and I got it. I contacted it. It seems in my last tour. I came home
yeah,
March 8th, and then I got it, and it was a brutal month of March for me. Luckily, I stopped short of getting a viral infection. It stopped short for me. Luckily, I presciently had a vaccine for pneumonia, not the flu, but pneumonia. So,
right,
everyone's got their own right to believe whatever they want. But, I
sure.
do take some comfort in science and smart people. I respect doctors and scientists. And given that I travel, I take vaccines. I have vaccines for yellow fever because I go to South America in the jungles, dengue. So I try to, protect myself. It's kind of like an insurance policy. So luckily, my preparation, I think, was certainly part of me not going all that way. That said, it was probably one of the 2, 3 worst um,
Oh,
flus I've ever had. So I don't wish it on others. And if you're susceptible, that's the whole point of COVID and taking care. So young people are not likely to get slammed by it, but the
sure.
misconception and misnomer of people is even if you're young and you probably ain't going to get kicked in the ass by this, it's
Yeah,
the people around you. It's your parents. It's your community. So, everyone's got the right to be whatever the hell they want. But if you have a sense of family and community, it's about not hurting it. So,
exactly.
take it for what you want. But I have a reason for the decisions I make. Other people just believe in the stars and their feelings, and I think you should really be a little less selfish when you're trying to understand about community. And I'm not pointing that at anyone. Just the way I look, I'm really try to be community centric and thoughtful towards my not just myself but my family.
Do you believe that you caught this when you were touring
Yeah,
overseas?
yeah. In
Oh,
retrospect,
yeah.
I had just come back. I had done. I'm always touring. I'm always traveling. So
Yes,
my
yeah.
last tour, I did a lovely weekend in Ecuador, Lost Beat
Okay.
Club, which is a super lovely underground club, booking just
Yeah.
the best DJs who believe in music, and then I went quickly to Spain for a day and in the UK, and calling my friends over the course of March, it turned out that everyone had either the sniffles or a few of them had kind of like the flu. That was
Right.
early days with testing. So, anyways,
Right.
pretty sure I got it in the UK, and then I haven't
Okay.
traveled since. So, first time in my
Exactly.
life in decades that I've been so still, not gone to parties. It's
Yeah.
been a big part of my life, but not the only part of my life. So, here we are.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you're okay.
Thank
I'm
you.
so very glad. Do you have any plans shaping up at all for this year, or is it kind of
Um,
not till next
I
year?
I think the plans shaping up for this year for everyone are hopes and wishes. So, yeah,
Right, pipe dreams,
we
yeah.
hope, we wish, um, but clearly the world has taken a turn for the worse and the more serious. So, parties are kind of like a distant memory. Hopefully they happen. I think music is an important part of our lives, but celebrating together at events is even more so.
I
It was
agree.
very sad. It was great to see the spirit, keeping it around the Detroit area, the spirit around the movement, festival, people tuning in and streaming, and that's making the best of the situation for sure. With a great energy and spirit.
Or are you booked if we do have the festival in September? Will you be playing?
Well, I did last year, so I'm not doing this
Okay.
year. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get back to Europe because I kind of I kind of was living there as well. I haven't been there in 4 months, so everything's up in the air. Everything kind of tentative. Like I'm not sure of my own agenda in September. I've got a few when it comes to touring. I've locked down a few important streams,
Oh,
performances. So great to play an interview with you. But for example, I have a big South American one coming this month. I have a virtual festival with some people related to Glastonbury. We're doing a virtual Burning Man. It's starting to shape up. So those will kind of be announced. And I think that those
really?
be community music events online. Not the same
Sure.
thing, but nice to be, working with the various communities and bringing some music to people. The experience is totally different, obviously. It's not the same knowing
No.
that umpteen thousands of people or even hundreds of people, but you can't meet them. So I think that's a big part of the events.
Have you played Burning Man before?
Yeah, last handful of years, I did like one of my favorite sets with Mr. C, who's Richard West again. Man,
Yeah.
is just fantastic. His heart is just enormous, and he's certainly been a very big influence and a supporter of underground. When he was in the Shaman, he took his success and supported the underground in music, and he was always a big fan of all coming out of Detroit. He was particularly nice to Rich and I, and we did a back to back for something like 6 hours, sunrise. Yeah,
Did
so a
you
lot of fun.
really?
So even though I'm doing a virtual set, it's not the same as playing with Mr. C. I've done a few really good back to backs. I did another one about a year and a bit ago in Ecuador with him, where we were
Yeah.
together the weekend. I think we played 3 events, like something like 20 hours or something, and a lot of fun with that guy.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. Well, we hope that Burning Man will be able to continue next year for sure.
Yeah, Burning Man's a dream. If you can attend it, it's a good trip. But yeah, there's you
Sure.
up until the world stopped. Picking your festival was certainly key too. Are you going to make a long trip or the time of the year? Again, Movement's one of those perfect festivals, especially if you're in the Midwest. It's a
Yes.
no-brainer. You don't have to travel far. But the other stuff certainly have an element of being quite exotic. Ibiza, for those of us in Europe, is not so far away, but for people in North America, Ibiza is kind of like a dream as well, right? So, yeah.
Whom would you say are some of your early key influences on your music? If you could say any Detroit artists?
Well, my influences, kind of an old guy, so my influences go pretty deep and long and almost to people that are forgotten. Because a lot of music is built on the shoulder of people. So if anything, we've been around a long time and influenced people. But
Yes.
for sticking to Detroit, the area of
Yeah,
Detroit,
Detroit.
before I came to Detroit, I came to Detroit in 1989. But I
Okay.
was buying records from Detroit well before. I've been DJing seriously and like full time almost every night in the 80s. So I've got way more gigs and parties under my belt, even before the whole scene started as a successful
Yeah.
Canadian DJ. So 1989, I came to Detroit, went to Buy on, I think it was like 7 Mile. But I was buying the records in the early 80s, mid 80s, of Metroplex, Juan Atkins. So he was the first sort of electronic influence from Detroit. Now Detroit has had other bands. I loved Westbound Records, the Detroit Emerald. So I love soul and funk. So I can go further back.
Totally.
So I was buying Metroplex records, and then clearly, Kevin and Saunderson and Derek May started having success. So I'm like, wow, these guys in Detroit, they're making some great music. And so
Yeah.
there's a reason why they're the big three. And they certainly influenced me. And when I came in '89, I met Rich Houghton through mutual friends who were
Okay.
at Dr. Disc in Windsor, which is like a great shop.
Yeah.
And that first night I went to the Shelter, met Scott Gordon.
Oh,
Rich
yeah,
Houghton was
Scott.
playing,
Yep.
and then we went to an after party with Blake Baxter. And I think it was that night or the night after we went to Gratiot where Juan, Kevin, and Derek had the complex. So that first night or the second night, I met I think it was Derek, and then we went there next visit or two during the daytime, and Kevin was already on top of the world, was a hit, and they just welcomed us, and we were talking, and you know on one hand, Detroit is like, when I got there, it was like going to the Emerald City, to use the Wizard of Oz analogy. I get there and you look at the city and you're like, wow, it's everything on both sides. It's
Yeah,
everything good and bad, and yet the city was hollowed out. But the people you met there all had an amazing energy, and I was just drawn to it. And I've had that contact ever since. I mean, Detroit's been very good to us, and
sure.
we try to represent and be thankful of Detroit. And then obviously the next wave of people, we were pretty involved and made a lot of great friends. And I have to say on this interview, big love and respect to the man in the memory of Mike Huckabee, who is like a great example in having
Yeah.
love and big heart in music. And he was always great at record time. Mike Himes, similar. Mike Himes, supported the scene through record time. Mike Huckabee was the man as well. So, there's
Exactly.
some important people who maybe didn't get the respect they deserve, but Mike needs to be respected and remembered as one of those people who just make things better.
Do you still correspond with Richie a lot? Sure.
Yeah, he just had a 50th birthday, and we were all gonna get together and do some kind of surprise, but that did not happen. So, we just, you know, anyways, Rich's birthday parties are famous. There were at least 3 lodge parties in the 90s that were quite famous in June, and they were centered around his birthday. So maybe it was for the better that we all kept our distance.
Yes, yes. I remember the one, oh, it was one of the first ones. Was it 96 perhaps? The sickness recovery.
Well, sickness recovery was a different one. We lost our
Yeah.
space, and we ended up having it in the middle of fields. It was a field of dream
Yes.
event deep into southern Ontario. It was
Yes.
around Tilbury,
It
which
was
is about over
crazy.
50 miles across the border, and it
Crazy.
was like totally field of dreams. I think that was 96 or 7.
I
Yeah.
think it was 96 maybe. Yeah.
Don't ask me. I'm just getting fuzzy on those dates.
Sure. Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. But I do remember seeing you play in Windsor several times. We used to come down to the city and then try to make it across the border.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Motor and the parties, and as the scene started exploding and everyone was like pounding away,
Yeah.
I just loved positive dance music. I loved soul, funk, and disco, just good grooves and a good time. But I also loved the seriousness of music. But when at a party, so as everyone was banging away, I always just wanted to provide more of a good time. So I was happy to be the recovery to people's sickness, or I was happy to have a fun night in a club at Motor. And I was just trying to counterbalance things. I've always gone in a room and, I'm not going to do the same as other people, but rather round things out. So I tried to do that with this mix too. And when you're at a club, it's one thing, but when you're giving people a mix to consume, not just while dancing, like, you got to give
Sure.
that element. And so I think it's okay to be happy. I think it's okay to play vocals. Some people are too adamant and like it can only be one thing. And for me, it's just, I don't eat the same food every day and I don't play
Right.
the same music every day, or the same music on every hour. So I love to be part of techno, but sometimes I tease my techno friends, I'm wearing a pink shirt. It's okay. I've got a whole closet full of black, and I sometimes call them my work clothes, but it's okay to wear colors. It's okay to do new things. So I love poking some of the techno people because technically I'm also grandfathered in that. So just to remind people, like, don't be too pigeonholed. I think that can be bad for us. Although I do get deep into all the things that I love. So.
Yeah, I remember we had one of your a tape of yours if you remember tapes back in the
Oh
day.
yeah, I used to make, I made a lot in my day.
Oh yeah, and my best friend and I, we would play it over and over and over again, and just the vocals and just the sound and the feelings, just so happy and so joyful. Do you prepare then your music if you know like there's a certain event coming up? No,
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 not
no.
really.
Okay,
I mean, my repertoire is pretty vast,
sure.
and it's also like uh, tattooed on my mind. So
Yeah,
I just kind of wing it.
really. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes when you have a short set, that's actually more problematic because like, what are the 12 songs or 20 songs you can play? Whereas I'd rather have access to, and I do tens of thousands of songs, and I'll play my core songs depending on a party if it's trendy or techno or whatever. And I've had various phases, the producer phase of my career, but at the end of the day, now I'm back to just playing. Listen, I got the tunes. I can play new. I can play old. On a longer set, I'm going to take people on a lovely journey, and it's not, it could be a trip. It could be just a nice reminisce. It just depends on the mood and the crowd. So you got to be flexible and you got to find a way to connect. Whereas a lot of people show up and go, like a rock band, here's my playlist, deal with it. And if you're a fan, that's great, but
Sure.
sometimes I like to just take people, and that's why I've gone in and out of phases. And I'm not here to pigeonhole myself, and I'm a bit of an iconoclast in that sense. So, um, you know, turning the corner before maybe I should.
Have you played out in Seattle?
Not too much, but probably a handful of times. It's been a long time since I've been to Seattle. Especially maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, I've picked my battles. I've been very busy in the daytime, still very, very deeply involved in music. Been doing a lot of speaking. I mean, I just did a podcast with Stanford, but I've spoken at Stanford a few times. I
Oh,
participate in a lot of
excellent.
conferences, so that's important to me. I speak at some private schools just to inspire or teach people. And then my parties, I pick and choose. I love the Latin world. I'm originally Italian, so my biggest success was in Spain. And also the Midwest. It did quite well, but love going to Spain. I live in the Mediterranean, which is where I was born, and that's very special to me. And then the Latin countries. Latin people tend to be pretty warm, and I love their company, and I love their food and and drink.
Sure.
So I'm not doing extensive global tours. I still travel. I was traveling well over 200 days a year, and I've done yeah, well over 5,000 events since being a national DJ in the 80s, and then internationally, so well over 3,000 events, um,
Quite a
well over
lot.
3,000. So, I mean, again, my work ethic is beyond most DJs. I don't have downtime normally. While people are sleeping, I just do something else. I do keep busy. So
Sure.
sometimes for people who know me pretty well, I love to bitch about things and people. But, as much as I bitch about people, I really do like them. So I like to be around them. So I'm finding myself conflicted, loving to complain about people's idiosyncrasies, but needing to be around them. So not having traveled is a bit tough because it's a rhythm that I enjoyed. But for me, again, I still made the best of it. Luckily, I have a nice place. Canada's pretty good overall. So I love my main home. I've got space. I got a garden. So I got to practice what I preach. Be good to plants and nature. And we did a one event with my local promoter friends at the main venue in town, the London Music Hall, and that was
Excellent.
about 3 weeks ago. And we wanted to do something for the community, and we raised money for the local chapter of the Canadian Mental Health Organization. And as a DJ, I've done well, and I'm not going to do events and ask for tips because how can I help? And so we decided certainly before the world kind of exploded in the US. But
Sure.
we obviously everyone's a little mentally challenged. We're all getting stretched and stressed. So we did a small
Sure.
event. It was the weekend of movement, I think. So we just did a local event, but we had about 500 people streaming, but we raised $5,000 directly to the charity. And I think that that's really important. Especially at my phase in my career, I do want to help and support and be part of that community. So for me, I've had a chance to be part of the local community, even though there's no parties. We got together and did something. And then to see my parents and just be a normal person, which I say in interviews is my hobby. My hobby is being normal. I'm not sure if I'm good at it, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I think we've all had to reassess ourselves over the
Yes.
past 3 months. I know I certainly have.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the challenge, because we
yeah.
all, at least a lot of us we can all be crazy, or we get the chance and we need to let loose. But I think we can't let loose. So for me, I get to practice being normal. It's driving me crazy, but
Have you played in Vancouver then?
I used to play Victoria and Vancouver a lot in the 90s.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember doing a lot of parties with Matthew Johnson.
Okay.
And even early days, I'm like, wow, this guy's really good playing live.
Sure.
And uh and so but again, I don't go out west. To be quite honest, like, some parts of North America are kind of alien to me. As a Mediterranean guy, I like the sunshine. And
Right.
um even California is like, to make soft fun of culture here. California to me is like Europe with aliens on it, because of the mentality and philosophies. Like, Californians are not Mediterraneans, but their land looks really similar to where I was born. So, that's why it's like California is like Europe with Martians.
Are
Yeah.
there any festivals that you have not played at that you want to play at, or some that you want to go back to? That stand out?
No, I mean,
No.
the thing is, like, I love playing, but
Sure.
like, I can get nostalgic, or rather share anecdotes of places, but I don't miss anything for a minute, because for the most part, everything I've done to the fullest. So I
Right.
don't, like, sometimes when people get older, you start going, man, it's not like the old days, or you should have been there, or I wish I was back in the 90s, or I don't wish anything. I'm always looking forward. I think it's I had Soren Kierkegaard, which is the first existentialist philosopher. You can only understand life backwards, but you have to live it forwards. So, sometimes, so it's really
Mm.
simple. I live life forwards. The more you live, the more you can understand life from experience. And so I don't want to go back rather than move forward. So therefore, you learn from your mistakes, you celebrate your successes, sort of. I don't really do that, but you move forward, and you kind of keep building, and try to learn. And learning is hopefully becoming smarter, better. um, People tend to fail, but that's not my problem. I try to live to those sort of simple standards.
Most certainly.
Even I don't, even for example, Zora, and it's come up a lot lately. The old Persian culture, they had three fundamental beliefs. Forget the Ten Commandments per se, but good thoughts, good words, good deeds. It should be that simple, right?
But I'm curious with your sets. Are you always prepared with vinyl, or do you?
No, I used to be one of the vinyl guys.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Uh, I'm a little conflicted. I'm not going to go see a therapist about it, but in the day, I was that vinyl guy. I was the one who had the collections, and I was technically pretty good. You won't hear too many stories of me screwing up.
Right.
'Cause I don't. My concentration is quite good, and I do have confidence in my talent, just like my repertoire. But the problem is, I love playing on turntables, but more than ever, traveling with vinyl, showing up at a club with crappy
Right.
turntables. Like, I used to dequartz my turntables. I was very, very, soft to the touch. I could play with 3 decks. My mixing is very good, except you show up on a piece of crap and then you're playing in relative context. So sadly, as the world was undergoing the paradigm shift, and we were involved in the digitizing of the music, it just wasn't worth it. It was super frustrating, lugging your vinyl and then playing on some crap turntables. So,
Right,
and
right.
now it's still a challenge. So, for me, and some of my friends just show their roots and bring a bag of records and mix it up. Um, I've turned down all my vinyl sets because I've just
Oh, have
it's
you?
in
Okay.
that sense, it's all or nothing. And I've done some I've done private vinyl sets at people's homes with their records. Of course, I'm still more than capable. Um,
Yeah,
but uh, I respect the people who are doing the vinyl sets. Kind of keeping it real. It's just
sure.
it's not for me to get into that battle or argument. Again, I'm grandfathered, and I'm just personally, when I play, it's about repertoire, and more than ever, it's about playing beautiful music. I don't chop up music. I have in phases of my career. I could do all the tricks in the '80s. I used to mix super fast, which is how I got the name +8. I was mixing very much like Jeff Mills and Derek May, like super fast, but that was the energy then. Um,
Right,
and then
right.
slowly, as everyone's like doing energy, and then techno's getting harder, I'm like, I'm just gonna play some nice, fun records, and going back to song selection. So it's like
Yeah,
food. Like some people want to mix and match and put a whole bunch of ingredients or make a happy face meal. I'm just going to give you a natural piece of goodness, and then it's
right.
your choice if you like it or not. So I'm just giving quality song after quality song, like a simple ingredient that's fresh picked in the garden.
I
I
love
don't
that.
put sauce on my food, and I don't put too much effects. It just, I'm not, yeah. So that's just where I'm at.
Again, we're back to the simplicity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, if you can, and I'm pretty, I've gone to slow mixing, and uh, I can start a set and end somewhere completely different, but you won't notice how we got there because I can connect those songs. And I find, for at least a clubbing experience, to just sometimes have music as that rhythm, that heartbeat, or sometimes that wallpaper. Because when you're at a club and it's warming up, a good warm up DJ, the music's there. You catch the occasional song. You're like, oh, this is really good, but it just eases you into the night instead of someone going, okay, slam 100 miles an hour, is like, and super loud, and like, I just want to have a drink and talk to someone when I'm at a club,
Sure.
and ease into the night. So I
Yeah.
used to do a whole night. So you ease people in, you then take them on a trip, and I play in waves. So I tell a story playing in waves, and that philosophy is different from other people banging out an hour set of whatever they're playing. So it's like eating meat every day, or potatoes every day, or a bag of chips every day. Well, what happened to salad and fruit, and like, for heaven's sake? So that analogy is consistent, and yet the quality of an ingredient is profound. So some people play average music, and you get an average product. And not just the artist, it's like a chef. So a DJ is like a chef. Mixing music is like mixing food, and I'm acutely sensitive to that. So even in my set, like, my songs are connected. I'm almost autistic, and I have keywords and memories, and all my elements have one or two connections, and that I'll connect external elements. So I started off, and I wanted to be happy and positive because I like house music. It's okay for techno people to like house music. That's what Rich and
Oh,
I.
it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. People can now trash my interview and say I'm not a purist, but it's okay. And so I started positive, and then I went old school because the last 3 months have been quite reflective. And when I did my recovery mix on the heels of the party sickness and recovery, when I recovered from COVID, and it was very difficult. I did a recovery mix because I wanted to celebrate life and being healthy again. And I put a lot of my lovely influences. And in this mix, I put, a lot of Detroit influences on there. I love the positivity. I didn't put Terrence Parker in this mix, but I've always loved his positivity.
Oh, most
Delano
certainly.
Smith, I put a track of his. And, I mean, so there's a lot of people who've made beautiful music that made me happy from Detroit and the rest of the world. So, and then I kind of went old school, you know, I put some almost
Mhm.
acid house, and there you go. There's
It was a
1 hour.
beautiful mix.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful.
So
Thank you.
it's not, you know, it's a pleasure, but where I'm going is I put a little bit of thought. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I wanted to do something underground, but then I'm like, well, I'm going to start off happy. You know, I was like, what do I want to convey? And first is positivity. You know, we're all together in this because we love house music. Um, and
Exactly.
and then also that rawness of it, Detroit. You know, Detroit is underground and old school. So you know, I want to show a couple of like older school tracks, and sometimes I'll play a hit, or sometimes not. It just, you know, it's, you know. So, anyways, I sent the message I wanted to send at this point in time. So there you go.
Oh,
It
thank
was
you for the
by
message.
not by planning, but it evolved that way, just with a little bit of thought. And how can I connect and share the elements I want as an artist? So it's that simple, DJs. Just put a little bit of thought, but know what the F you're doing, right? Some people just wing it, and you can tell. You know, average is average. If you want to get paid or be good, just like it's like train, you know, make an effort. I've trained, so I don't go to the gym and train to be a DJ because I've mixed thousands of nights. That's why I can wing it.
Sure.
Otherwise, people need to be at home, and a lot of my friends, we go to their home, they're always playing music because they want their lives to be full of music, and that's the way to do it, you know.